to Tungsten Automation Podcast. I am Yvette, the account executive from Singapore, and here with me we have Randy, the account executive from Malaysia, and Keith, our solution engineer specializing in the finance automation workspace. In today's episode, we are excited to explore how automation is transforming finance operations, accounts payable, and enabling the finance team to operate smarter, faster, and more efficiently. It is observed that there is a clear global shift for MNC, multinational corporations, consolidating their operations to what we call a global business service center or global shared services centers. This approach helps to reduce operational cost, drive standardization, and accelerate digital transformation. And particularly in the Asia-Pacific region, we have observed that Malaysia is actually one of the leading countries that is leading this rapid adoption of finance transformation.
Yes.
So, Randy, you'll be the best person to answer this. How do you see the current trends, the landscape in accounts payable technology today, particularly in terms of like digitalization?
All right. So when it comes to digitalization for SSC and GBS, what they're looking for is to evolve beyond paper to paperless, the traditional OCR, RPA, and workflow automation. What they're trying to achieve here is touchless invoice automation. So meaning less dependency on human validation and then everything to be straight through processing. That is the goal that they're trying to achieve.
I heard an interesting word, touchless invoice automation. So, Keith, do you have anything more to share? These actually help to bring companies closer to this goal?
Sure. So just now we mentioned about touchless or straight-through processing. So actually the definition is mostly about this document coming into the organization. Then, of course, you want to extract the data. Then automatically it will go down to the downstream process to your system layer to do posting. So that kind of scenario, this kind of process is what we see that most of the organization will want to achieve, because they want to make sure that their process is more effective. So, but before we embark on this kind of technological layer, we typically also want to advise the organization that do look at their own internal process, to make sure that they have streamlined their processes, clean out the master data, make sure their workflow is to the right person before they embark on this, because then in that case we can work together with the stakeholders to create a very good solution in place. Then of course now when we talk about these human layers, we also need to think about this AI technologies coming in as additional layers, because that actually can help to automate a lot of different company processes, and then of course eventually to drive efficiency, and also to create values from there.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, so what I'm hearing here is that a lot of internal factors that we should focus on first to establish the right practice, basically setting up the best practice, right?
Yes.
And ultimately is to achieve efficiency gains, reduce operational costs. So we're talking about speed as well in here. So no doubt all these are super important, but what's your take, both of you, around the macro factors? For example, companies today, they are facing very strong headwinds from the global factors. One good example is the recent, or maybe not so recent anymore, but tariffs hiked, right? So I agree that all these factors we just discussed are super important, but beyond that, what are the other indicators do you think that companies should also be focusing on?
Well, I'll take it from a business point of view.
Please.
So when it comes to speed is still key. It is important. That's why they have this GBS and SSC. It's about the processing speed. But aside from speed is agility. Not to be mistaken with the speed, but agility is more of the GBS and SSC ability to react and adapt to the changes of the world. Like case in point, tariffs, whenever there's a new tariff being imposed, you need to make sure that the system is ready and agile enough to adapt to it. And also, aside from tariff, there's also a good buzzword, which has been going on in the world for the last 2 years, e-invoicing mandate. The mandates different from one territory to another, one country to another. So the ability for AP team to adapt to this, it's key. The agility is key.
Agree.
Yeah, maybe also add on this e-invoicing. So organization with shared service, right? They're looking they themselves are more like a compliance hub nowadays.
Yes, that is correct.
So that's the trend that we both are looking at. Of course, if you look at that, then you also need to think about the system, or rather the layer whereby you can try to automate it. Because imagine, just like as you mentioned, you have a compliance hub which serve different countries, right? So any changes to that countries, especially on the e-invoice part, how many changes you need to think internally, right? If let's say you're going to adapt to those different countries. So that's something that I think, I hope that organization do be aware of this and try to solve this kind of problems.
Okay, so it sounds like with all these moving parts, right, it is really getting more and more complex.
Indeed,
Yes.
indeed, yes.
Yeah, so how would both of you advise that companies could really adapt so quickly?
Maybe I'll take this on the technological front. So typically, most of the company or organization right now, right, we are looking at just a two-layer kind of, I would say, two-layer of organization, I would say. So this two-layer is a human factor layer.
Okay.
So you have different departments on this layer. Then you have the system layer, which is your ERP system, your CRM system, your Salesforce, etc. Right? So your human layer always interact with this layer. But what we are helping our customer is to introduce a third layer. Okay, this third layer is what we call the hybrid digital workforce. So it comprises of like RPA, AI, and then workflow orchestration.
I see.
Yeah. So that in that case, you can think of this in middle layer that connects the human layers to the system layers. Yeah. So this is something that we deem that it will become the hyper automation future for all the organization.
Okay, there are interesting terms here like hyper automation,
Yes.
hybrid digital workforce. Could you elaborate more, explain a little bit more into that?
Right. So hyper automation used to be a trendy term.
Okay.
5 years ago when RPA came to the market, right? So everybody started to jump into RPA, using RPA to solve a lot of problems, a lot of gaps. But eventually, if we look at hyper automation today, it comprises, as just I mentioned, RPA as well as AI, as well as workflow orchestration. Why RPA? Because RPA can still help you to scrape data from from your external data, right? Then you have the AI capability that can help you to do decisioning, to help you to gather information from your own system. Then you have workflow automation or orchestration to help you to connect the human factor to this digital layer. So this is what we mentioned of the hyper automation layer as well as this hybrid workforce. And then when we talk about AI, right, typically AI, like just I mentioned, will get the information from the system layer. But bear in mind, right, because the system layer will have all your data and it's very valuable right now. We used to think that, okay, data is just stored in some place and that's it, right? Because it's very hard to access. But now with AI, it's much more easier to access and summarize those data for you to do analysis and whatnot. So it really creates that value for you. Yeah.
Speaking of value creation, so I'm hearing AI here, hyper automation, hybrid digital workforce. It actually helps to kind of eliminate or minimize by automating those mundane tasks and repetitive tasks, right?
Yeah.
That is one value that we could give back to the workforce, right? So that they could continue to contribute more value, creation of value, right? More customer engagement, probably more informed strategic decision making, right? So in addition to that, what I'm hearing from Keith is not only this value we are talking about, right, through this creation, but also AI actually helps to provide you the gold mine of data, which is super
That's right.
valuable to organization, right? So in view of that, Randy, what's your take
So-
on value creation?
My take on value creation, because Keith mentioned about hyper automation, AI, and everything, and then GBS and SAC or COE, Center of Excellence, they sit on data, gold mine of data. So what it means, these platforms help them to structure their data, and in return, it helps them to be more strategic with how they move forward. So case in point, maybe an improvement in the cash flow management, because AP typically handles that. That's why with this AI power empowering them and hyper automation empowering them, it helps them to be more strategic with their approach going forward.
Yeah, sounds really something that we could really realize, right? And not
Exactly.
just like a vision or a story that is too far ahead. But I'm curious, like how can then tungsten automation help with everything that we have discussed? How would we position it to the workforce?
So for the audience here, right, we are the expert in this area, especially on the leader layer, just like I mentioned. So do come to us. We can help you to do hyper automation and create this hybrid workforce layer for you, because we do have solution, especially RPA. We have our total agility for the workflow orchestration. Then we have invoice agility that can help you to automate your financial process automation. So all this in combination, you can see that it actually helps in the organization as a whole, right? Not only for AP, it's only for, it even can extend to P2P, O2C as well. Okay, P2P means procure to pay, O2C means order to cash. Yeah. So yeah, we can help you along the way.
Do you have anything to add on, Randy?
Yes, it's interesting that you brought up P2P and O2C again, procure to pay and then order to cash. So what it means, we, Tungsten Automation, we help our customers to structure these data and give them the clarity. So all this complex data that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, it becomes more clear. It gives them the ability to pivot, react, and adapt to the market changes. Right?
Well, that has wrapped up today's episode, where we have deep dive into how automation is revolutionizing accounts payable and shared services centers. We talk about from intelligent invoice capturing to invoice processing, from compliance agility to building hybrid digital workforce. We also have highlighted how that middle layer, where technology and people can come together to create a much smarter and more resilient finance operations. So thank you, Randy, and thank you,
Welcome.
Keith, for joining us today. And thank you to all audience for embarking onto this journey towards future of finance. Until the next time, stay curious, keep innovating, and keep transforming. Thank you.